This is the part of the podcast that we call Headliners on the Headlines. Joining me this week, Daymon Ferguson, Johnny Steele, Maureen Langan. We'll talk about some of the news of the week. Welcome, everybody. What's going on?
Hey, Brian. Hey. Hi, fellas.
Hey.
What's new and exciting? Oh, what? I forgot your dog's name. What is your dog's name?
Nicky. Hey, Nicky.
Hey, Nicky.
Nicky's a rescue what? Attack dog?
Pardon?
He's a rescue attack dog? Is that what it is?
That's what he is. He does one trick. I think I showed you. He does one trick, but he knows he's excited about it. So I wait.
Johnny, you froze on us.
You're blowing the lead, dude. Hold on. So here's the trick. Hey, Nick, you want to go out for a walk or you want to stay home and watch a bunch of Brian Copeland stand-up comedy videos? Guess not. He didn't like that idea.
Well, he could win America's Got Talent.
What did the dog do that beat you on America's Got Talent? I didn't see.
I don't know. All I know is I'm going to start a kill shelter. That's all I know. Not really. I don't know. He jumped into stuff and jumped around and went into leaves and came out of them. I don't know. I blocked it out.
And he beat your dog jumping into leaves?
No, he beat everybody. Everybody lost to the dog. The dog won everything. It's like us going to Best in Show, my curly hair, calling myself a poodle and winning. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I'm not kidding. Look at this. All right. Lopsa, opsa, whatever. I don't know.
Animal acts, man. No, animal acts and kid acts.
And kids.
Forget it. All right, well, let's start with this. Let's jump into it. Today, Wednesday, when we are recording this a couple hours ago, the Republican House of Representatives finally elected a speaker, Mike Johnson of Louisiana. He's an election denier, and the New York Times said that he was one of the chief architects of the electoral college plot. And this is the Speaker of the House who would not certify Joe Biden as the victor in 2020. And he's going to be the sitting speaker during the 2024 election. Should we be worried that he's not going to certify anybody? He's not going to be behind certifying anybody but Trump if Trump should lose?
I would be most concerned that he's third in line for the presidency, and knowing what his values are. That's what would concern me. He's so ultra conservative, and we'll have a federal abortion ban and things like that. Nice things.
He'll rise to the occasion as an honorable man. Nobody bought that.
No. Not at all. Well, this is kind of a comedy podcast, so go ahead. Keep going on that train of thought.
I look like a dog on America's Got Talent.
Jump into some leaves, will you?
I could. No, I don't think he's going to, Leopard doesn't change his spots. He's going to be the same. And yes, we should be worried. We should be incredibly worried about the state of the democracy. I think even a lot of moderate Republicans are worried. Although they didn't appear to support this guy, but I think they're very worried about the way their party's being hijacked by the MAGA side of things, and I'm not seeing them really do much about it though.
Well, it's not being hijacked; it has been hijacked. The only reason that he got the 217 votes he needed, I think he got 220 is what he ended up with, was because of the fact that the right wingers who were opposed to whoever I forget who the third speaker candidate was. Who yesterday he was a candidate for about 4 hours. They had chosen him until then Trump put the kibosh on it, so he had to withdraw. I mean, so that's how much control and how much power Trump still has over that party. So it's just Nancy Pelosi was on with Chris Hayes. I think it was last night. And she said it's interesting how on the day that Mark Meadows, the final chief of staff of Donald Trump, it's been announced that he's been given immunity and he's testifying against Trump. When this is announced that he's flipped, on that very day, there's still the House Republicans are still kowtowing to Trump. I mean, unbelievable. Johnny, thoughts? I know you got some.
I don't, I just wonder, when we've all traveled to other countries and you walk around a corner during an election year and there's 18 parties. I wonder if this is an example of maybe some of the flaws in the two-party system. It seems like, and I even feel this a little bit about the left, part of the left is, maybe there are other parties, of course, right? Libertarians and Greens and whatever, but they don't get enough of a percentage of the votership to get in the debates and so on and so forth. So there really isn't, in practicality, it's a two-party system. And I just wonder, because I see some people saying crazy stuff on the left. I see people saying crazy stuff on the right. It seems like it wasn't part of the original GOP package and it wasn't part of the original Democratic package. I don't know. Maybe we do need 6 parties. I never would have said this before, but I don't think I've seen both parties sort of divided. I mean, I just remember during the last couple elections, the Hillary crowd hated the Bernie crowd people and the Bernie crowd hated the Hillary crowd people. And it was almost like 2 separate parties, They were calling Hillary a Nazi and a corporate weasel and everything else. And so, and so I don't know. I live in Berkeley, of course, so it's a constant clown show. And I went for a bike ride the other day. There's a bunch of Robert Kennedy people up on the over the 80, which is illegal, by the way. You can't go up on the overpass and hang signs and scream and yell and whatnot. And, there's a theory that if he runs, he may pull enough Dems off to give the GOP the election. So, everyone's afraid to go to more than 2 parties because you remember, some of you might be too young, but remember John Anderson, what was that, 1980 or something?
Something like that. Yeah, it was Reagan, Carter, and John Anderson.
And then don't forget Nader. And some people say, the far left still says, hey, screw you. Gore wasn't good enough or blah, blah, blah. And then other people say, no, there's some data that shows that he may have tossed the election to Bush at that time, if I remember.
Yeah, it was Bush.
So I don't know. It just does seem crazy. I mean, I know there are a lot of conservative people who roll their eyes when, they're not fans of Trump and they wish he would just go away. Mm-hmm. But because he's just, he's that, once it's out of the bottle, he's crazy and it's embarrassing for centrist conservatives who are more Mitt Romney, John, Kasich kind of people. John so I don't know. We're in certainly it's just, I hate to use the word existential, but I mean both parties are sort of there where I don't know. It's crazy. There's crazy fringe people. It's almost Frankenstein's monster, right? It's just like created this monster and now you can't control it.
Well, you know what worries me too? You'll see somebody like Jim Jordan, whose head seems like it's going to explode, and you could just see the wrestler in him hasn't left. It's just like, he is just insane. This Mike Johnson guy, he can come across a little more eloquently, calm in his demeanor, but that doesn't mean underneath it isn't the same thing. And that's what worries me. You can say very nice. I bet he's very nice, but I may not want to be his religion and I may still want, autonomy to my body. And you have to be careful because you watch Nikki Haley's doing this now. Do I think that she's really informed about, global politics and, yes, I think she's very smart, but all of a sudden, instead of nobody should have an abortion now, it's, my husband was adopted and I really believe in it. Great. I'm glad your husband was adopted. I'm glad he was put up for adoption. I'm glad that worked out for you. But now that has to be my choice, Nikki Haley. But watch, she's really soft in the way she addresses it, but she wants a federal ban too. Be careful with these people, the ones that come across very nice and calm.
I'll tell you what's scary to me. When you talk about a federal ban, I mean, as long as Democrats can keep one house of Congress, that's not going to happen. Or can keep the executive branch, that's not going to happen.
Well, we never thought this would happen.
A number of polls have come out in the last 24, 48 hours that show that if the election were held today, it's too close to call. Or in some cases, like 1 or 2 of these polls have Trump winning. And it's like scary. The guy has 91 charges against him. He's been indicted 4 times.
But he's a victim.
Really?
Definitely.
It's really fun though watching how out of control he is because he's not used to anybody telling him sit down and shut up like these judges. And I just absolutely love that there's an African-American woman who's actually the boss of him. This is going to be his worst nightmare. The person that he would want under his thumb more than anybody is now going, I see you when I raise you, shut up, gag order.
There was an article that I read about how fascinating it is that as anti-African-American as Trump has been in his rhetoric and in his policies, that the people who are holding him accountable, Alvin Bragg in New York, Letitia James, Fani Willis, Tanya Chutkan. Yes, they're all people of color who are holding him accountable, which is kind of poetic justice.
Yeah.
Poetic justice. No, that's cool.
Did you see that clip of Mike Johnson giving a press conference when he was asked by an African-American woman about his involvement with trying to overturn the 2020 election? And he just said, no, next question. And the House Republicans who are with him started booing this reporter, a black woman, and yelling for her to shut up.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't know it was a black reporter. I did know they were telling somebody to shut up. In fact,
it was a black woman.
But I didn't realize.
It was a black woman. who they're telling to shut up. So, I mean, it's frightening. I saw another report today. It was a study that was done by the Brookings Institute, where they asked how many people agreed with the statement, since things are so bad, patriots may have to resort to violence to keep America.
What?
Or to get America back. Yeah. Well, actually, I'll see if I can find the exact
Repeat that.
Yeah, that since things are so bad, it's something like, hang on a second, I'll tell you the exact number, what it is. Here it is. Okay, report released by the Public Religion Research Institute and the Brookings Institute, 23% agreed with the statement because things have gotten so far off track. True American patriots may have to resort to violence to save our country. 33% of Republicans agree with that statement. 41% of Trump supporters agree with that statement. So I'll ask you the question, how worried do you think we should be about political violence? I mean, you got threats that are through the roof. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw what happened to Nancy Pelosi's husband. So I mean, how scared should we be?
Very. I think it's probably inevitable at this point because it's being stoked so vehemently. And chaos certainly serves the Trump platform, and the more chaos, the better for him. And I think that we're probably going to see it. I think it's almost inevitable at this point. I think we should be very afraid of it. And to Johnny's point earlier, I think it's probably time to get rid of political parties. I don't think they're doing us any good.
But how do we do that? I mean,
I don't know.
That's something that
that's
looks good on
right.
paper, but let's talk practicality. It's like we should get rid of the Electoral College, but it's not going to happen because we're not going to amend the Constitution because the red states will never go along with it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of things that we should do, but I mean, but realistic, short of abolishing, and I got to tell you, I would agree with that, Johnny. But short of abolishing parties, I mean, it's frightening. And I think these gag orders on Trump are a good thing because everybody he targets, if he's calling Jack Smith deranged, and the things he said about Fonnie Willis and Alvin Bragg, all these people end up getting death threats. All these people who he targets, and he just says, "Oh, I'm just exercising my First Amendment right," and he knows that he's got a lot of nuts and kooks who are following him, and they're just waiting for his go ahead to attack somebody. And that's what that's what the FBI is most afraid of. They say we will not see another coordinated thing like January 6th. What instead we'll see is lone wolves.
Well, you're seeing it with judges now. You see people who go and kill judges who don't side with them or don't like their decisions. It may not have anything to do with Trump, but it's this sense of the lunatic being empowered to kill somebody if they don't like what they're doing. That frightens me. But I think I'm in a really big sense of denial and I have to snap out of it. It really is probably a 99% sure that it's going to be a Trump-Biden runoff again, right? I keep thinking there's going to be somebody. Is it too late for another Democrat to emerge? What's the deadline for that? Is there a deadline for that?
I don't know. They haven't had the primaries yet, of course. So I mean, anything could happen. Anything could happen. And there are a lot of people who say that if Biden cared about the party, because the biggest thing that he's got going against him is the age thing, which is fascinating to me. There's not more of an issue for Trump because they're only 3 years apart, for God's sakes. Right. But they're saying that he should just step aside and say, okay, I did what I said I was going to do. I'd be a caretaker president. I'd get the crazy out of the White House.
I know.
I'd fumigate the place. And basically that's what he's done, and that he should step aside and let somebody else come.
Yeah.
Well, who? I mean, people, for some reason, people don't like Kamala, and I've never understood that. And I'm biased because I know her personally, but I've never understood why it is that she gets the.
Oh, really? Really? You don't know why? Come on. She's a woman and she's black.
I mean, other than the obvious, other than racism and sexism.
Well, they haven't. Well, totally. They hate women in America. Sorry, people hate women. They just do. Look at and even when you're watching this Johnson and his his crowd behind him, there's not 1 ounce of diversity in that crowd. Zero.
None.
Zero. That's what you look at when you're seeing the Republicans. I do think, aside from being a woman and a woman of color, I do think it detracts from her credibility when she giggles and laughs at everything, even when they're serious questions. She has this kind of tick or nervous habit where her default is to just kind of laugh or giggle. It just what she does. And it's like, come on, this is your moment in the sun. Come on. So that I do think that detracts. Plus, we don't hear enough from her. So when we do, and it's a heavy topic and she starts to giggle, I think it does detract. I do. I would have to chat with her about that. You're close to her. Go talk to her about that. Because
I'm not close to her. I know her. I haven't talked to her.
Get close.
Put her hand on the Bible. I haven't talked to her since then. Before that.
All right. Well, make friends.
Johnny, you look like you got thoughts.
I don't know what Newsom's plans are. I mean, I met Newsom years ago when I was a San Francisco radio show host, like you.
That's when I first met him.
Yeah, and it seemed to me that guy had an official air about him when he was a child. You know, I thought he was looking toward the presidency when he was just a San Francisco supervisor. So I don't know what he's waiting for or when he's waiting. You know, every election I wonder why he's not in. So
well, he's a party guy, and I think they're struggling for party unity. I think that's a lot of what's going on. Is you're not gonna find a serious Democrat that's gonna try to unseat Biden in the primary. Well, they won't have party backing.
That's why he's setting himself up. I mean that's why he's been attacking Ron DeSantis, and he's going to be debating DeSantis on Fox News. They're going to have a debate, and the whole reason is he's trying to position himself. So if something happened and Biden did drop out, or Biden had to drop out, that he's the guy. He's right there. And I've always said, unless he slips on a banana peel or something, he's going to be president one day. Unless there's some real big hiccup, unless there's something really bad that's happened that he's done or has happened that we're not aware of, he's going to be president one day.
Yeah, but I know the being from the East Coast, or you hear this, whatever coast you're on, people, they just, particularly Fox News or the right-wing news, they always just glom on to California as an example of, and just like they make fun of my beloved New Jersey, that it's smelly. It's not. There's beautiful beaches. It's gorgeous. So people have hysteria, and I hate people who put down my beloved New Jersey. And even though I grew up in a town called Lake Hiawatha and there's no lake, but still, I think that people look, and I'm glad you brought up Newsom, Johnny, because I was thinking he looks like he's planting seeds. Why would he be debating DeSantis on Fox News? Come on. And that takes balls. However, people are going to look at the homeless situation in San Francisco, the $999 rule. I picked up a pair of shoes in Nordstrom and made a little joke on my little videos. They truly were $1,590. So I said, where's the daughter of the garbage man section? Because I can't afford these. And somebody goes, too bad they weren't $999, Maureen, or they would have been yours. You could have just walked right out. That's the image people have of San Francisco. The homeless, the needles, the drugs. And they're going to say, if you couldn't take care of that, Gavin Newsom, what are you going to do with the rest of the country? Why should we put our faith in you when you can't take care of your own city in your state?
Well, let's talk about this for a second. You brought up, shoplifting is it's gone beyond shoplifting. I mean, people just go in and they fill up baskets and they walk out with the baskets just without paying. And it's like, what do we do? I mean, there have been a couple of cases of employees, I'm aware of employees actually trying to stop people. One guy at down in San Ramon, California, I believe it was, at a Home Depot. I think it was a Home Depot.
It was a Home Depot.
Was it a Home Depot? Was trying to stop
Home Depot. And he wanted to be a police officer, and I don't know if he didn't have money for the academy or whatever, so he thought he'd work in loss prevention or whatever they call it now. And some couple came in and they stole, I think, a battery charger or something like that. And then there was a tussle, and they went to their car and got a gun and came back and shot him dead. I think like a 20-year-old kid, a 21-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And they had all sorts of priors galore and had been let out.
Oh, man.
And I know of somebody personally who was working at a major grocery store chain here in the Bay Area, which is where we're all based. If you're out of the area, this is where we're based right now. Who was in the store when there was a robbery, where there were like a swarm of 4 or 5 people who came in to rob the place, and she stood in the doorway and tried to block them on the way out, and they shoved her down. And once it was all over, when management found out what she'd done, they fired her for standing in the doorway trying to stop.
I remember that story. Yeah.
So it's like, what do you? I mean, I don't know what the solution is. We've got in Alameda County, we've got a recall right now. There's a recall campaign to recall the current DA, and the reason they're using it is because she's trying to fight mass incarceration, and she's has ordered her ADAs to find any alternative to incarceration you can find. And if it's something where the law says you have to give jail time, to give as little as possible. So they're trying to blame that on crime. And
I don't know.
Well, the solution to mass incarceration isn't ignoring crimes. It's putting people in a situation where they don't have to commit crimes. It's giving people opportunity and hope. It's not ignoring crime. That's not the solution.
That's what she says. And you're breaking up a little bit, Daymon.
Sorry about that.
Your audio is breaking up a little bit. But that's that's exactly where she's coming from.
I don't know. I don't understand this. I got to be honest with you. I'm like way liberal, and I'm going to be doing. I tell you this as an aside. I'm going to be performing comedy on Huckabee's show, and when they called me, I go, "Do you know that like I'm a bleeding heart liberal, like who believes in gay marriage and women's rights and birth control?" They say you just don't do politics. But what I don't get is if I took those boots out of Nordstrom, I get arrested. You're not supposed to do that.
Exactly.
I don't understand this. I'm sorry. I didn't have a lot of opportunity growing up. You don't steal things. You just don't do that. I don't care. You don't have the people who are stealing running in there. I live above a Dwayne Reed in Manhattan, and I go down there and I'm friendly. I got to stop being friendly. The guy next to me is grabbing 3 6-packs out of the next to me where I'm buying something. I go, wow, we're having a party tonight, huh? And I looked at him. No, he's stealing them. He's stealing and grabbing. And I'm like, hey, having parties. I'm like, wait, shut up. So I say to the girls at the counter, because I go in there all the time, I go, look at me, no eye contact. You don't see anything that's going on. You don't risk your lives. They call the cops. The cops show up 20 minutes later. I go, where's the security guard? Oh, he's off at 11. Oh, that's awesome, because it's midnight. So I say, don't look at them. Don't stop them. Just save yourself, honey. Just save yourself. And go get a job at Trader Joe's during the afternoon. That's what I say.
Well, I wouldn't risk my life, for a store. I mean, I worked in retail, when I was in high school and college, and we would see shoplifters every once in a while. Well, even then, there was no way I was risking my life or my safety, over their merchandise.
No way.
And it's not your job. I mean, it's not your job as an employee. I don't think.
I wouldn't do it.
It's certainly not for what the pay anyway. My wife used to manage a Michael's store, and she would get it regularly. People would come in and steal a bunch of art supplies. That was the big ticket item because they were easy to resell on eBay or whatever. And she would see them all the time, and she would instruct employees not to do anything about it. They just ate the loss, and she couldn't do anything. She wasn't going to risk her life for 7 grand.
Let me stop you, Daymon. If there's anything you could do at all about your audio, because you're breaking up and we're missing a lot of it. It's coming out as really garbled. Cut this part out. But yeah, it's coming out really garbled.
I just think. Go ahead. Go ahead, Johnny. Sorry.
Brian, there was a case in San Francisco. You remember that? It might have been a Walgreens. I can't be sure. And a guy went and stole, and there was a security guard that confronted him, and a fight ensued. And I don't remember if the suspect was punched or whether he was shot, but remember that a while back? Yeah. And it was upper, and they were going to charge the DA. They were trying to get to charge the security guard with some kind of murder or manslaughter or something like that. So, yeah. I mean, why would anybody intervene at all? I mean, I hear this a lot, being a guy who has done things like play football and box and stuff like that. People always say, well, there's too much force. Well, if you've ever been in football or a fight, there's no perfect amount of force. Bedlam, I think Tyson once said, you have a plan, then you get punched in the face and you see red and white spots, and then it's just bedlam, right? And so I just think people are afraid to lose their job or go to jail if they intervene. And here's another quick note about it. Or get killed. And here's another quick note about it. From what I read, the majority of this crime is committed by a small number of people. Mm-hmm. So it's not like there's far more criminals. It's like the criminals realize they're not going. Did you see what about the 2 kids who ran over people on their bicycles in Las Vegas? Have you followed this story?
No, I don't know.
No.
Oh, it's a pretty famous story. These 2 kids, very young, one 15 at the time, one I think 16, they stole a car. They went around town and started running over people on their bicycles. And they, I think, knocked 2 people off who went to the hospital, and they killed one guy. And in the police car, I believe the guy is saying to the cop, why are you even bothering me? I'm a juvenile. I'll be out in 30 minutes. Well, they're on trial. They've both been charged with murder, and they're smiling and laughing at the widow and daughter of the man they killed. Good and Lord. I don't know if they've had priors, but it's just, it's brazen, crazy crime. But I mean, my point is they're criminals who don't think they're going to get caught. And if they do get caught, they're not going to suffer any consequences. So there's somewhere on the internet, you can look it up, where there's a listing of people who've been murdered by people who were let out because in places like San Francisco, folks fought against cash bail. Say it was classist or racist or whatever it is, and so people were let back out.
It is, but in some cases, I agree with in minor cases getting rid of cash bail, because if you are wealthy or you are of means, you don't spend a day in jail. You're broke or you're poor, you do. However, for things like murder, for things like attempted murder, absolutely, there should be a bail. Your story about Las Vegas, it made me think of something. Remember the great Sam Kinison?
No, who is he? No, yes, of course.
Well, I have to say remember, because I had to explain to somebody recently who he was. That makes you feel old.
Really?
Yeah, it was my daughter. My daughter. I explained to my daughter who Kinison was.
Well, you raised her wrong. That's your fault.
It's my fault. Blame me. But when he got killed, he was driving to Las Vegas from Los Angeles, and he got hit by a drunk driver, I think head on.
I think he was going to Laughlin, wasn't he?
He was going to Laughlin to do a gig. He just come back from his honeymoon. He and his wife were together. He just come back from his honeymoon. So when the guy was arrested, and when he was arraigned, he was wearing a T-shirt that said, "I killed Sam Kinison." Wearing a T-shirt. So
is that true?
No, absolutely, that's true.
Wow.
That is absolutely true.
What happened to him?
I don't know how that played out. I mean, I know he got jail time. He was convicted of some manslaughter or something. But, and it was so ironic for so many reasons, because Kinison, had a long history of alcohol and drug abuse, and he cleaned up. And then he used to encourage people to drive drunk in his act.
Yeah.
That was the thing too. He would encourage people to drive drunk in his act. So it's just
shouldn't have done that.
It was ironic.
So this all started from Brian. We have all three of us. Most of us have had radio, TV shows, and the producer says, "I get back to the point about the Democrats and why they don't."
Hang on a second. Say it in my ear. You got to say it to IFB.
How about the IFB? Like, get back to the book. Get back to the book. Okay, so but I probably watch more media across the board than probably most people do. And, I don't know who said this, maybe Maureen, but the pullout of Afghanistan, $6 gas prices, crime, all these things are pretty much dropped in Biden's lap, and, what are we at now? The inflation, the interest rates went up again, because I have an adjustable mortgage, so I know. And, inflation.
What do you have an adjustable mortgage for?
Pardon?
Why in the world do you have an adjustable mortgage?
It's a lot.
You never know month to month what your house payment is going to be.
It's it stayed the same for 20 some years, and then it shifted. I'll tell you it's an investment thing where I was going to condo units in a building, and so blah blah blah. But anyway, because it wasn't going to be a long term.
In the butt. Now the Fed is biting you in the butt.
Well, my procrastination is biting me in the butt, because it was going to be a short-term loan, and I was going to get a multi-unit building and blah blah blah. But anyway, the Paisan knows about this. Maureen's pal.
the Paisan.
Yes, Paisan knows about this. But when you look at that stuff, it's all crime in the streets. And the Alameda DA comes up. It's also not just Seattle, Portland. All towns run by liberals, with 90% liberals on the city council or the board of supervisors, and this is presented out there that this is what will happen to your town.
Of course. Well,
Democrats.
Well, I hope not all Democrats. But what is happening?
Democrats get their way,
Johnny. But who came up? And I'm asking you: who came up with this? This under $1,000, you can steal whatever you want. Let's not prosecute. Was that California who came up with that, or was that San Francisco?
I believe it was California state law. Or didn't we vote on that? What wasn't that like a proposition?
Yes,
it was part of a
proposition.
Recall.
Yes, we voted on it.
Yeah, we did it. We did it. People.
That's insane. That's insane.
And it wasn't.
That's insane.
It's just that they don't prosecute, because it was it used to be a lot lower. What the deal was, it was like under $500, I think, and then they raised it. They
won't prosecute you, is what happened. Will they arrest you? What's the point of arresting you?
It's a misdemeanor. It makes it a misdemeanor is what it does.
That's what it is. It would have been a felony, and that's what they did.
It's a misdemeanor.
And there's another quick note, because I know this, because I live in Berkeley, and there's a lot of homeless people. Another one that we didn't vote on, the state legislator in California did vote on, which was whether or not to make the second or third conviction for porch theft, porch piracy, a felony. And I don't remember exactly, but the Democrats voted against it largely. And because I have, cop friends in the neighborhood, and I'll say, well, why don't you go after that guy? I saw him and I went to his house. And he's like, it's a misdemeanor. It's worthless. It's meaningless. It's jaywalking. If he steals a package off your porch and you see him.
Jaywalking is an infraction. That's different than a misdemeanor.
Is that infraction? Well, what if you walk across the street with something you stole from my porch? I think you're very confused.
Well, no, I'm just thinking.
I think you got to cross.
Crazy.
I think you got to cross state lines for that to work, Johnny.
Is that right?
Make it a federal crime.
Yeah,
it's crazy. I mean, it is crazy because I mean, I have Ring, and there are videos that come up on Ring. Most of them are from Oakland all the time, where there are videos of cars that are just driving down the street looking for stuff, and they stop in front of a house when they see an Amazon package or a UPS package on the porch, and they run out and grab it and throw it in the back, and then pull up to the next house and see what's I mean, it's a whole organized thing, believe it or not. Just as this massive shoplifting, people who go in and steal all the batteries at the Rite Aid store, what they're doing is they're as you were saying, it's a handful of people because they're part of a ring. They're part of an organized ring. There's somebody, they take it, they sell it to a fence, and then the fence puts it on eBay or puts it on Amazon.
Or it goes to Vietnam. In the case of phones, I think they go overseas right away. There was very recently in downtown San Francisco, some people hopped out of the car and started just clubbing people with bats. And I think a couple of them were women. And I think one of them had a stroller, and they just take their phones and run off. And the lady had her laptop somewhere, and she pulls it out, and they're pinging the phone. It went all the way to the East Bay, and the next thing you know, they found them again, I think, in Vietnam. So wow. Yeah, they're rings, they're crime rings and gang rings, and it's international. And yeah, I don't think the junkie is fencing that stuff. I mean, he's fencing it. He's giving it to somebody, and he's getting pennies on the dollar, and then that's ending up at the flea market at the Oakland Coliseum flea market or something.
My kid's had his catalytic converter stolen twice in a month. It got stolen. He got it replaced, and they stole it again.
Wow.
And they stole it again. And it's like they're trying. I think that Newsom signed something, if I'm remembering correctly, or he was either signed it or was going to sign something that to try to cut down on catalytic converter theft, which is huge, by stating that you can't have more than one, or you can't resell more than one at a time. Because I guess that there are places where guys will walk in with 10 catalytic converters. Well, gee, where the hell do you think they got them?
Yeah. They'll just come back the next day. Wow. Okay. Here's one on Monday. Okay. Here's the other one on Tuesday. Yeah. All right. I mean, come on.
And so here's one more quick thing about all of this is then there aren't enough cops. I mean, Vallejo, Oakland, even Berkeley, back in the summer, the local newspaper wrote that was the fewest police per capita on a Saturday night Berkeley has had in like 40 years. I mean, San Francisco, the number they're down by literally hundreds of police officers in places like San Francisco. They fled. They said, screw it. I'm not, we're spat upon. No one, we're considered bigots and monsters, and screw it. So wouldn't you? I'm going to go to Danville. What are you going to get there? Some lady's poodle's haircut is off or something like that.
Well, I was in San Francisco. I was working at Cobb's, and I was walking back to my car. This about a couple months ago. And some guy is beating the crap out of his girlfriend. And I can see it blocks down. Like I'm not right on top of it. I'm not going to walk. I'm like, oh man. So I call 911. And nobody ring. Hit 1 if you'd like a copy of your report. Hit 2 if you want accounting. I go, this is ridiculous. He's hitting her. And I got to hit these buttons. It rings and rings. I hang up, call again. And the woman goes, well, what's the cross street? I go, I don't really know all the cross streets here because I'm from New York, but I'm on this street and it's 2 blocks over by a 7-Eleven or whatever. I go, and she's like, hold on, and connects me, and it rings. Nobody ever picked up ever. So I don't know what happened to that woman. Nobody came. I couldn't even reach a person to not show up. And I said, can you help me understand when that woman did pick up, can you help me understand why it's taking me so long to find somebody? What's the emergency? I go, I just told you. Well, if you don't know the street, we can't send anybody. I go, I'm telling you the street I'm on. And it's 2 blocks over in front of a little store. I could see the store. Nobody. That's it. Nobody. And I'll connect you to the police. I go, well, who are you? I just called 911. I don't understand. Am I calling the wrong numbers? I'm not joking. Should I be calling 311 or 611? I don't. Is there another number?
I've never been able to get it. There have been a couple of times where I witnessed things and had to call 911, and I've never ever called 911 on my cell, and been able to get connected. Ever.
No, it goes to a dispatch center, and they pick up if they can.
If they can.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So that woman had the crap. There she is screaming on the ground. I don't know what happened to her. I tried. I waited around for about 10 minutes calling. How can you help somebody if nobody will come? I don't know. I was shocked. I said, in San Francisco, you can't get somebody. Wow.
Well, it's not just limited to San Francisco, but San Francisco is getting all the grief heaped on it. I mean, do you think that the city, a lot of people are saying that the city is over, between the homelessness and as you were saying, Johnny, the needles and all this other stuff, that, it's lost it's a city in decline, and pretty much as a hub or one of the Condé Nast top places in the world to visit, where it was always either number one or number two, that all that's over. That's over. People are fleeing in droves. That's what the rap is. I mean, in terms of the actuality, do you think that that's true?
I think a lot of the soul of San Francisco is gone. Yeah. I mean, working as an artist and trying to work there, it's not the same as it was even 10 years ago. And I don't know what's happened. I don't know if it's been economic decline that's caused it, or just the increasing prices driving people that were, actually fun to be around out, or if it's the drugs and homelessness. I really don't know, but it has definitely changed.
The answer is it's all of that. It's a perfect storm. You had a very anti-cop sentiment. Cops left, so you've got hundreds fewer police officers roaming the streets. You've got a new drug called fentanyl that's coming up here in truckloads. That's really, really cheap, really addictive, and really nasty. You have an industry that allows people to not have to go into the city anymore and work. So there aren't people roaming the streets at lunch or 6 o'clock in the evening from, I mean, if you ever been downtown at like 6 o'clock on a Wednesday or even at noon, it was mob, people sitting all over the, people in office buildings coming out for their lunch or after work to meet friends for drinks. That is greatly diminished. They're trying to turn all these buildings, many of them, into housing, but it's very hard to do. And it takes a long time. And so it's all of that and more. The cost got crazy, just a lot of factors, those and more probably, but certainly availability of cheap, nasty drugs, police. And there's a thing, I know a lot of cops. I grew up in a blue collar town. Slow roll. Have you ever heard of this thing? I mean,
no.
The idea that there's a violent crime going on and you're going to go in there, and it's two, what a friend of mine calls mutual combatants. Is often as not, and so he's going to go in there. He's 2 years away from retirement, and he's going to go in there, and there's going to be a tussle, and he's going to get shot or stabbed, or he's going to grab somebody and hit her head, and someone videotapes it, and there's riots in the street. Screw that! I'm not turning on the lights, and I'm not speeding through intersections.
Okay, well then resign. That's what you signed up for. Yes and no, because I don't think there's anybody here who would disagree that there are cops who have totally overstepped the line, and that we know this. We know all this. But also having two cousins who were cops, they're retired now. You know what? You want to go home to your kids, and there's lunatics out there, domestic violence stuff. There's a lot of stuff, and now you have to be perfect. Like if you're a cop, you have to know everything's going to be in hindsight. Everything's going to be to use the exact amount of force. I'm not talking about things that are clearly abusive, but did you use too much force? What is the right amount of force? Everything's going to be micromanaged to the point that you don't have any autonomy as a police officer to do what you need to do. I would not want to be a cop. I would not want anybody in my family to be a cop. I think it's a horrible job right now, because there's the ones that suck, that make it worse for all, and the ones that really want to do a good job, they're so micromanaged that forget it. Whatever they do. Well, let me tell you, I agree with you. They have a very difficult job. I couldn't do it, and I'm not anti-police by any stretch of the imagination. I think that those that do it, and I know a number of good police officers, fine police officers, who truly are there to protect and to serve, and there are also some bad ones, as you said.
Of course,
none of us are going to disagree. But the fact of the matter is, you have that uniform on, you got the badge, and you're not going to intervene because of the fact that you might get hurt. There's no conscription here.
I think they're basically saying.
Hang on, one sec, John. You decided that you wanted to be a police officer. And you knew when you put that uniform on for the first time, and you learned in the academy that anything can happen to you. What you're doing is dangerous. You're talking about calling 911 and this guy beating his girlfriend. That's the most dangerous situation that a cop can get into.
That's absolutely right. Domestic violence, right?
That is the most dangerous. So if you know this when you sign up. So it doesn't make any sense to me that you wouldn't do it. Okay.
It does, because after 20 years, you're like, I got 2 years left, man. I'm like slow rolling. I knew you're like, I just got to get through 2 more years. I did the hard crap for 20. I'm in for 2 more, and I'm making sure I'm getting out in 2. Anyway, that's my thing. Sorry, Johnny, back to you.
I sort of agree with Maureen. After the 300th time you've gone to one of these events and you start pulling the man off of the woman and you handcuff him, then she comes over hitting you on the head with the frying pan saying, "What are you doing to my man?" I mean, come on, we're all human. At a certain point, you're going to go, this will diffuse. And then he's in jail and she's down there pulling him out of jail and they're having ice cream 10 minutes later. You're probably like,
I love him. Yeah, I love him. But the whole point we got into. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, finish your thoughts. I was going to change the subject.
We live in an era, and I'm doing a little bit now. I haven't followed politics that closely because I've got other things I'm working on, and so that's why I don't weigh in as much on some of this other stuff. But we live in a time where everyone thinks everyone's weighing in on emotions and not knowledge. I'll go to parties and people will say things about police or police violence or whatever, and I'll say, "Can you answer me some questions?" And they'll say, "Yeah," and I'll say, because I have a brain for this. I don't have a brain for much more. How many police officers are there in America? No idea. Well, I'll give you multiple choice: 250,000, 500,000, 3 million. No idea. How many interactions do police make with the general public in a year on average in America? No idea. 10 million, 50 million, 100 million? No idea. How many police are shot and killed, or shot or otherwise killed on the job every year? No idea. Can you name one police officer who's been killed on the job so far this year? No idea. What percentage of white people are killed by cops relative to blacks and Latinos? No idea. So you have people speaking because they saw 7 minutes of videotape and because they're part of a club or cult that allows them only to say and think this or that. It's useless to even get in discussions with most people on many issues because you can go online and find data on many subjects. Yes, the Middle East, what we're going to do about homelessness, the complex problems, surely. But people are weighing in on things and they have no idea. And I asked them, "You ever been in a fight?" Never. You ever get in a football stance and run into a guy who's 280 pounds all day? Never. Ever been in a situation where you thought you might have to stand up and grab a lamp and save your life? Never. You ever have an adrenaline rush? Never. But you know how it should work when two cops are trying to subdue a very powerful, strong 22-year-old guy who's on meth and fentanyl. Sure.
And okay. I got to tell you make a good point. Living in Manhattan and the subway systems, there's like every train has a lunatic, every car. It's like, okay, this nut job, this one's whacking off, this one is snorting something, this one, she's mumbling lunatic stuff next to a little child. And I'm supposed to know as a citizen how to handle that. I'm supposed to know there's no cops down there. They're washing their hands of that. Now they're coming back in more, but you're there and they're telling you like that guy, he put somebody in a headlock who was a lunatic and the guy died. The guy who put him in a headlock, it's scary with these people. You don't know what they're spewing things. They're nuts in there and you don't know what's going to happen to you. And that one guy, he did put somebody in a headlock and the guy died.
Yeah.
Said, well, he shouldn't have done this. He shouldn't have done this. Well, how do you know what to do? Why do we have to even be in the position to know what to have to do? Because nobody's protecting us in the subways. Nobody.
And there is you can go online and find this. Everybody makes fun of YouTube, getting your information from YouTube. There's all sorts of news on there, from the BBC to whatever. But there are just video after video after video on some sites on YouTube of cops just waltzing up and going, "What's going on here?" People, it takes 1/10 of a second to turn around with a gun in your pants or in your pocket or whatever. Yeah. People in their cars, every second, every vehicle they pull over, every door they knock on in our society with 350 million guns and however many tens of millions of homicides a year, tens of millions of millions of hundreds of thousands of homicides. I don't know that number personally, but it's just an incredible job it's the only job where every day you go to a dozen environments where somebody might kill you. And I'm amazed at the number of people who tend to speak about compassion and understanding who won't acknowledge that that's a reality for them, that every time you turn around, somebody that you pull over for the smallest traffic violation is possibly armed and is going to start shooting at you.
Well, I will tell you this. I am on the community police review board. I am a commissioner on the community police review board in my town. And we had to do 30 hours of training, prior to getting sworn in, and police training. And it was a real eye opener about a lot of things, because one of the things that we had to do was the police simulator. where,
Oh,
yeah, where there's video of a certain situation, and you've got a gun on one side and you've got a taser on the other side, and you're supposed to decide what to do and assess the situation. And like, it's true, one of the commissioners who's with me, he's talking to a guy or having a confrontation with a guy. What are you doing? What's going on? And 2 seconds, the guy turned around, grabbed a gun, and shot him before he could reach his weapon.
Wow.
Me, the one I had was called to a disturbance at a motel, and the door. I go to the way the camera works. It's like a big screen video, and you're standing in you're standing in front of this video, and you're supposedly interacting with the images you see on the screen. And so the door is partially opened, and then it opens all the way, and you see this guy who's behind the bed hitting his girlfriend, beating his girlfriend, beating her. And I reached for my taser, and instead, I gave the command, stop, put your hands up, stop beating her, put your hands up, law enforcement, whatever. Doesn't do it, keeps beating her. So I reached for my taser and pull it out and shoot, and it was my gun. It was actually my gun. And here's the thing: the officers who were there said I did it right. I did exactly the right thing, because this was potentially a life and death situation. And the fact that the matter being the guy wouldn't stop, and he's beating this woman, and he could beat her to death, that was the right thing to do, was to use I accidentally did the right thing. But, but it was a real eye opener to see. And again, like you look at Fruitvale Station, Oscar Grant, where Johannes Messerly was supposedly reaching for his taser and pulled a firearm and shot him instead. I did exactly the same thing. And now I can understand how that could happen. Does that mean you're not held liable for it? No, but I could certainly understand how that could happen. But it was a real eye opener. It really was.
There's a video on YouTube. I wish I had all these links, but you can dig it up. And there was some minister of some sort, maybe Baptist, I think the state was Arizona, always dogging the police for acting too soon, choosing violence first and all that. And they said, hey, come on down to our simulation program. And he came down, and in every instance, he was either killed or murdered somebody innocent, just about. They got a guy, this real guy, bigger than me. I'm 6'3", 230, bigger than me. They've got a big guy, and he's in front of his car doing something. And the cops say, your situation is someone is stealing something off of a car. And he goes, and then, he says, excuse me, sir, can you stop? Can you stand up? And the guy doesn't, and he gets over to where the guy is, and the guy just comes out with a gun and blasts him. Boom, he's dead. Another situation similar later, the person was innocent, cop shoots him. It's just like in every situation. And to his credit, afterwards, he said, okay, I see now the other side of you have to make instantaneous decisions. And it's,
Well, I'll tell you, the one the simulation I did after I got done, the officer who was running it said, now somebody comes with their phone, and they catch the last 30 seconds or the last minute of this, and you've just, all they got is you shooting an unarmed guy. They don't know what's happened, what's led up to it, or anything else. They've got you now shooting an unarmed guy on video.
Yeah. So and then he flashes this. What does this look like? He flashes this. What does that look like in my hand?
Yeah, looks like.
And you've got 1/10 of a second to make a decision. And and another thing. This is another thing. I don't know that there's any data. There must be that tells you whether or not this is a bad thing. But it costs more for cities to hire cops than it does to give cops overtime, because
it does.
They need all sorts of new stuff. They need to train the cop and everything. Well, cops are doing overtime. So more and more cops are working overtime, partly because there's fewer police officers in each city. I can't imagine doing a 12 or 16-hour shift in some of America's neighborhoods, dealing with everybody. I didn't do this and I didn't do that, and you police are all monsters. And can you imagine day after day after day? So I would imagine at a certain point, I don't know about you, but I'm cranky for a second show on Friday night. I'd tase everybody in that audience if I had a chance. Zap. Who's next? Zap. I'm offended. Zap.
Complete change of subject. Gavin Newsom signed a law today that raised the minimum wage to $25 an hour for healthcare workers and $20 an hour for fast food workers. So curious, did any of you guys, when you were 16 or 17 or 18, work minimum wage jobs? What did you do and what did you get paid? Mine, when I first started working minimum wage was $2.65 an hour. I was phone soliciting for $3 an hour, and I thought I was the shit because the fact that I was making 35 cents more an hour than minimum wage.
Yeah.
I started at $3.45 working in Great America.
Really? You worked at Great America?
Yeah. Yeah, I was a games barker. I was the amazing Alfred Did, which is just the weight guesser in
It's hilarious.
That is.
The weight guesser.
You couldn't do that job now. Somebody would sue you. Madam, you're 134 pounds.
Stay away from me. Tase.
Lawsuit,
Tase.
tase.
It doesn't exist anymore. I just went there with my kids. It doesn't exist, so I don't know.
But you would do that? You would guess the person's weight? Well, you must have gotten good at it.
Yeah. You always guess low, just because it's. Remember that scene in The Jerk where Steve Martin's playing the weight guesser?
Yeah.
And he's upset that he's lost all this money or all these prizes, and they explain to him that you're taking in $10 and giving away 45 cents worth of crap. Yeah. So that's the scam. That's the game. So they wanted you to guess accurately because they want their 45 cents, but it wasn't that big a deal. Mm-hmm. So
that sounds like a tough job, man. I can't guess my own weight. Once a month I go in the bathroom. Okay, I'm thinking about 124. 124, I get it. 131. What's wrong with the scale? Bullshit. I can't guess my own weight.
Well, we also guess people's date of birth or month of birth and what was the other one? Month of birth and I don't remember what the other one. Gender. This was the 80s. We knew what everybody's gender was. It was pretty.
Did you ever have I would be nervous that if ever I had a heavy person and I would say date of girth. And then
when I would get a heavy person, I would make sure to guess low because I just did not want to, for women, you never go over like 150. You just don't.
I wouldn't even go that high. What's wrong with you? Listen to me. Let me ask you this. I don't understand this, how you made money with this. Like 45 cents versus $10. You said, what was the scam? What was the deal?
Well, they would charge, I think at the time they were charging $2 a chance. And then if I would fail, the prize only cost them 45 cents.
Oh, I see. Oh. And it wasn't a great prize anyway.
No, it was just a little stuffed animal they bought in bulk. I mean, it was, they were small, they're about this big, and
it's just a fun thing,
yeah. So I mean, it was just they didn't care that much because they already got the $2. So the guest experience is what they wanted me to work with. They wanted me to make sure that I did more experience. Yes, they wanted. Yes. I was supposed to make them have a good time, make them feel good about themselves. All that.
Fun.
Yeah.
Well, my gig was at Stop and Shop. I got the job when I was 16 after paper routes and mowing lawns and all of that stuff. And I think we paid $3 something, but I had health insurance, dental.
Insurance and dental?
Dental. Yeah. If you worked part-time, 20 or more hours a week. Yes.
Minimum wage part-time job. Where was that? This is New
Stop and Shop. Yeah, it's an East Coast supermarket chain, though the dentist did put me up against a wall and try to molest me. But other than that, it worked out really well.
There's so many lines I'm not going to say because I don't want letters.
I'll say them. Did you guess his weight? Were you able to guess his weight?
Well, no, but I did get its girth.
Very good. Johnny, you? First gig?
I was mostly a football jock trying to get a scholarship. So all summer long, I was running up the stadium with a 25-pound dumbbell in the pack. But I was a windsurf instructor for a couple of summers. And I was, that you could already assume that job wasn't really about the money. It was like, let me help you back up on the board.
In fact, you paid them, as a matter of fact.
Really. Yeah.
You paid them. Study I read today said that children's lack of independence. There are experts who are saying children's lack of independence today, because parents have their kids scheduled for everything. And, they're on a real short leash and they're scheduled for stuff from the time they get up to the time they go to bed. Their lack of independence it gives them very little time to by themselves to think and to explore. And as a result, they say that the kids are having more issues of anxiety and depression. And I'm thinking that that's true. And I just wanted you guys your thoughts on it. Like when I was a kid, on Saturday, I would leave the house in the morning, and the rule was I just had to be home by the time the street lights came on.
Yeah,
that was the rule. We could go wherever we wanted to. And I know with my kids, no. I knew where they were at all times. There were play dates arranged. I mean, when I was a kid, no play dates. You go over and Mrs. Johnson, is Billy home? Can he come out?
Yeah, that was the play date, right?
Yeah. So you think that there is legitimacy to this idea that the kids not having enough independence is causing them grief?
I think it probably is. I have two kids right now, 12 and 14. Well, 15. She just turned 15 today, actually. Happy birthday, Karen.
You got a 15-year-old girl?
I got a 15-year-old.
You're not going to sleep for the next couple of years.
No,
stay awake.
They say that, but she's a good kid. She's smart. She makes good decisions. She doesn't get in trouble. She's committed to the dance. She's a serious athlete. I'm lucky. I got a lot less to worry about. But my point is that, when they were younger, we definitely supervised them more than I was supervised. I remember days I was told to go out in the morning and not come back till dinner time. Like that was the instruction.
Get out of here and don't come back.
So, and we definitely supervised them more, but turns out we were on the low end of supervision because, like we would let our kids go to the park and just play. I mean,
I never did that. I wouldn't do that. The fact that you said that just made my heart beat faster.
Really?
I live in a pretty good neighborhood. There's not really a lot of problems there. We know our neighbors. Like the kids had 3 or 4 houses on our street where they could go if they were in trouble, and they couldn't get to our place. We had neighbors that I knew that were walking in the park all the time. Maybe it was maybe it was just specific to us, but we didn't feel like we needed to supervise them that much.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Obviously, as they got older, the supervision decreased. That's kind of the deal we have with our 15-year-old. You stay out of trouble. You don't make you make good grades. You don't get in trouble. You get more freedom.
We'll stay out of your face and out of your stuff.
Pretty much, yeah. As long as she's not getting in trouble and making good grades, why should we? And it's going to be the same deal with a 12-year-old when she gets to that age, and we're kind of gradually bringing them up to that. Mm-hmm. But I know there were parents that would show up to every school function and watch the kids. Like even if it wasn't something that they necessarily needed to be a part of, they would just show up for when they had a visiting art teacher in class and just watch it. And just kind of hover, and we never did any of that. But we were definitely on the low end of the supervision scale for normal. And I see a lot of kids, like especially with my younger daughter, because she really was impacted by COVID a lot more. I mean, spending a year inside without much social interaction really affected her a lot more than my older daughter. But I definitely see among her friends a lot more anxiety and things like that because and a lot less freedom. Parents are more afraid, and I don't know that their fears are all that rational. I mean, there's not any more child molesters out here than when we were kids. We just
no. And the other thing too is people don't realize that there were more stranger abductions in the 1950s than there are today.
Yeah, most abductions are somebody it's a relative or a friend. Yeah,
so we're paranoid about it.
I was also reading like a lot of that stuff that became urban myth wasn't true. There wasn't any rampant amount of razor blades or drugs at Halloween.
There's not a single case on record of somebody.
When I was young, candy. I went to house after house looking for candy with drugs. Nothing.
Yeah. Nobody's gonna give your kid free drugs. I remember one year my mom took our candy to be X-rayed for razor blades. And like there was a thing at the hospital where you could do that. It was she only did it once though because she decided it was ridiculous. But
well,
thank God we've X-rayed this candy and we know there's no needles or razors in there. So enjoy your hydrogenated palm oil and high fructose corn syrup and diabetes.
Yeah, with a little bit of radiation in there. We don't know exactly what that is.
See, when I was a kid, they used to make people used to hand out handmade stuff. Like popcorn balls and that kind of stuff, and that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's long gone. That's right.
That is long gone.
You can't even bring a homemade cake to school or homemade cupcakes to school anymore. They have to be store bought.
Yeah,
it's so weird.
Well, I brought, you're supposed to bring something to a party. So it was a play I did a few years ago, and I brought Reese's peanut butter cups. The building evacuated like there was a bomb threat. I'm like, what's the matter? Peanuts.
Well, you can't get peanuts on an airplane now because that's why
Yeah.
you're not serving them at all, because you don't know who's allergic, and it could kill you. If you put someone who's allergic in proximity to a bag of peanuts, in theory, it could kill them. Not in theory, in actuality, it could kill them. So
maybe
Maureen,
we're just trying to weed out. It's a good way to weed out the weak, Brian. So what's going to happen one year is the terrorists are not going to need weapons. They're just going to drop peanuts.
Reese's.
bags of peanuts.
Jesus.
Incapacitated.
Maureen, when you were a kid, what kind of freedom did you have? Was it like us, just allowed to go out and come back, when the lights came on, or were your parents tighter on you?
There were 6 kids, and they had no problem with only 4 coming back. We didn't have a lot of money. There's a lot of mouths to feed. Good luck to all of you. You just went out. You were on your bike. Listen, the one thing we couldn't do was hang out in town, because that's what we call them the derelicts. The guys the kids smoking. So you could go to town, but you had to have a purpose. You want to have lunch with your friend, great. We could ride our bikes. We had 3 people on a bike, one on the handlebars, one standing behind you, and one on the banana seat.
And no helmet.
No helmet. How about this? I was talking to my cousin, because my mom's from Ireland. So this is my first cousin. He lives in America now, but he grew up on the farm. He was, geez, Mo, helmets. What the heck? As kids, we had guns. We were shooting rabbits and pheasants. We were the Irish Taliban.
Right.
I said, Jesus. But no, we had a lot of freedom. But the elementary school, which we always walked to, my little brother, 7 years younger than I, he would run up before he'd go to school and look in all the windows trying to find us. I said to the cop, there was all these cars. I go, what's going on in the school today? He goes, oh no, people don't let their kids walk anymore. I was home visiting my parents. Lines and lines and lines. I think that's doing kids such a big disservice. Not having a pal to walk to school with or get made fun of. You have to go through all that.
Mm-hmm. Kids also need to learn to take risks. I mean, they need to learn risks and consequences. Like, I remember one time my daughter was about 7. I let her climb a chain link backstop at a softball field, and parents were freaking out at me. And I'm like, I'm right here. If she falls, she'll get scratched up. It's okay.
Yeah.
We're going to be all right. They need to learn to take risks. They need to learn, what they can and can't do. And, hopefully you give them enough background that they take appropriate risks and don't get banged up too bad, but they have to learn that.
Right. My 11-year-old, I'm sorry. I can let you go.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to say that's right. We're out of time, so this is a great place to stop. So,
it is.
Daymon, where are you playing?
I'm dealing with some personal issues right now, but check my website, DaymonFerguson.com, for upcoming dates.
Okay, Johnny?
When does this air? Well, the first weekend of November, Saturday night, I'm way out at EJ Fair Brewery in my lovely hometown of Pittsburgh. I'm doing a fine show out there. And then also I'm at the Punchline a couple of times in the next few months, and some corporate private holiday gigs. So come to my Facebook page or my website.
What's your website URL?
JohnnySteele.com. It's JohnnySteele.com.
All right, Maureen?
I'm going to be at Rooster T. Feathers this Thursday through Sunday in Sunnyvale, California. And if you want to book me for holiday parties, events, you can go to MaureenLangan.com, MaureenLangan.com. And on the social media stalking sites too, Facebook and Instagram.
Maureen Langan, Johnny Steele, Daymon Ferguson. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian. Bye, little doggy.
We'll see you soon.
See ya.
All right, that is going to do it for us. If you like the show, please do, if you want to help us out, if you're listening to it, as opposed to watching it, go to whatever platform that you're listening to it on and give us a 5-star review. That helps people to find the show. If you are watching, we are trying to get 1,000 people to subscribe. It's free. And once we get 1,000 people to subscribe, then I can do this live. And so we can get interaction from viewers while we're doing the show. So just go to YouTube. If you're watching, there's a place to subscribe right there. Just click the subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything, and helps us get closer to our 1,000 subscribers, so we can have live broadcasts. So until next time, be kind to your neighbor. He knows where you live.